going on, guys? Today we are back, and today we are getting the 1UZ V8 running in my 1989 Toyota pickup.
Brought to you in part by Overland Outfitters.
So any minute now, I am expecting a special package to show up for my 1989 Toyota pickup. I got a friend who's currently en route with said package, and hopefully that means it's finally time to get this thing back out on the road, back on the trails, and out for some more adventures. Yeah, I did.
Hello?
Look, it just showed up.
Somebody ordered a motor.
I did order a motor.
Delivery service in the house.
Yeah, you're hot shotting on back row truckers.
No, I'm hot shotting for
you're
real
hot
now.
shotting for real.
Dragging motors across the province.
Awesome. And check it out. They delivered a new to me, 1UZ. So the difference between this one and the other one is this is a non-interference engine, and this is from a LS400 instead of an SC. Check it out, the new 1UZ is now in my truck. So the same day they showed up with this engine, we stayed up until like 2 o'clock at night getting this thing installed. Now, there is a couple issues I need to address. So this here is the computer that I got with this 1UZ. Problem being, they didn't give me this plug with it. It's completely non-existent in any of the looms that was included with this engine. I do, however, have these 3 plugs, but there's an issue with those too. And that is right here. This plug right here is damaged, and yeah, these 2 wires are just kind of loose. So yeah, making it so that I need to replace this plug and repin every single wire to make it work in this ECM. And that's if I can even get it running with missing this very last plug in the ECM. But the good news is, there's another 1UZ sitting right there with a perfectly good engine harness and ECM, and I've already wired it to work in this truck. Now it's time to swap the harnesses over to this engine and whatever sensors and whatever needs to be moved over to accommodate it, and then I can work on getting this thing running. Now yes, obviously swapping the harness would have been so much easier when this engine was removed, but unfortunately at the time we didn't realize this harness was going to be a pain in the butt to use, so it went in with this harness. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be impossible to swap the harnesses with the engine in the truck. It'll just be a lot more difficult. So yeah, I need to remove the intake and go from there. Alright, so yesterday I started installing the harness from my old 1UZ into this 1UZ, and let me tell you, it is a pain with the engine in the truck. But yesterday I got the starting harness wired up. It is routed down where it needs to go, over here, and yeah, up to the battery. Next up is the main harness here, and that's not really gonna fit. Let me show you the issue of that. So this part of the harness is pretty straightforward. I should be able to fit this back here, but where it goes down and around the back of the heads right here is going to be really hard, if not impossible, to route. Same with this side with the engine in place. Let me show you how much room I have. Like, there is no way I am putting a harness past this. So in order to fit this junk onto this junk, I'm gonna lift the engine up a little bit. I'm gonna pull out my engine mount so that it drops like 1.5 to 2 inches down, and hopefully when it's down that couple of inches, That'll make up all the room I need to route the harnesses back in behind.
Are you ready? Are you ready for the comeback? Yeah. Are you ready for the comeback? You know we the ones that ready for whatever. We gon' have to show them something, man. Let me see them hands up all the way front back. You don't understand that I'm doing what you can't with no cap. This is the return of the one. You ain't see him coming, you just heard drums. They've been ready for the battle. Any person that comes got the weight of the world on them. Yeah, they too strong.
And that worked pretty dang good. Look at all that room back here on both sides now. Lots of room to route a harness back here now.
Are you ready for the comeback? Yeah. Are you ready for the? Are you ready for the comeback? You know we the ones that. Let me see them hands up all the way front back. Yeah, it's the comeback. Are you ready for the comeback? Now I see you with your bad self. If you're into taking L's, then I can't help. I'll be the self-made champ, look at my belt. I built this all from the ground up, this all by myself, y'all know. This is the return of the one. You ain't see him coming, you just heard drums. They've been ready for the battle. Any person that comes got the weight of the world on them, yeah, they too strong. I might have been down, not out. It's on sight, you gon' figure that out. And I might have been down, not out. Only one thing I gotta know now is, are you ready for the comeback? Yeah. Are you ready for the? Are you ready for the comeback? You know we the ones that. Let me see them hands up all the way front back. Yeah, it's the comeback. Are you ready for the comeback?
So apparently I lied. I am not using the SC400 wiring harness and ECM. Reason being is I cannot for the life of me get spark. And I've checked all of the grounds, all of the connections on the ECM, the coils have power, the igniters have power, everything is routed how it's supposed to be and powered how it's supposed to be, but I can't get it to work. And why? Well, I think the ECM is dead. The ECM is supposed to put out a 12-volt signal to the MREL wire coming out of it. And this wire is responsible for triggering the relay that then gives power to different components in the engine bay. And not only that, the computer isn't outputting a check engine light indicator. It's supposed to flash when you turn on the key to let you know that the ECM is working. And, well, it's not. Now, as I mentioned before, this harness was complete trash that came with the LS400. Now, what I did is I took all the factory wire covering off of it, like every bit. This was a completely bare harness, repaired every single wire that was damaged in it, and then recovered it up, and now it looks like a solid harness and should work good. And now for the other problem with this harness, the ECM plugs. So, this one is in fact still damaged. These top two pins are broken out of it. These are very important pins because this is where it gets battery and it gets ignition switch signal. So I went to my local Toyota dealer, ordered just this plug new, so I'll just repin all of these wires into a brand new plug and that will be solved. As for this plug that was completely missing, I looked at the traction control module that came with the SC400 loom and noticed those 26 pin connectors are very similar. And check it out. With some slight modification, it works. So as I did mention, I did have to modify it. At each end, there was a couple of ribs here that I just had to take a razor blade and cut off, and then after that, she fit right in like a glove. So after I figured out this would work, I went through and I identified every single pin in here and labeled everything that I do need to connect. Now that this fits in here, this whole harness is ready to go in the truck. Alright guys, so I ran that harness and I ran it into the cab and I've connected it to the computer, as you can see here maybe a little bit. Yeah, and then after that, I gave the computer power and I gave it ignition switch power. And now when I test the MREL output, check it out. The light turns on, so that means this ECM should be good. So we are game on for trying to get this thing started today. Alright, so I just connected the starter to the starter relay that I have in this relay box and connected that to ignition in the start position. So in theory, right now if I turn the key, this motor should turn over. You know what helps it start? When you actually connect the starter hot lead to the battery. Okay, it should be all wired up to run now. I just tested for power at the igniters and the fuel injectors, so I'm gonna try cranking it, see what happens. I think I found the issue. One of the coils wasn't plugged in, so it was only kind of firing on half the cylinder. So now that that's plugged in, it's time for another test. You can't say that wasn't running. Yes! Oh man, I am excited. And after some fine tuning, I finally got it so that it can idle and it'll rev up. Check it out. That was quite the backfire in there. But hey, it freaking runs and I can rev it up. And it sounds good. Now I am finally on the end stage of this rebuild, V8 swap. Just freaking put everything back together. Thanks for sticking with me, guys, through this whole V8 swap process. It's been a journey. There should be about one more video on the V8 swap. I still need to put the radiator in. I need to figure out an airbox solution, and there's a few other odds and ends that I do need to finish up. And after that, you know, we'll be out ripping in this thing, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, guys, if you like the stuff, please remember to give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and hey, we'll see you next week. Peace.
I'ma make a couple stacks, do exactly what I want to. Mix a couple tracks, get a lady that I'm drawn to. Turn up to the max, get me faded till I'm gone, dude. I do what I want, couldn't stop me if you wanted to. I just work hard, yeah, harder than the rest. Some people say I'm lucky, others say